Howdy, hey. Howdy, hey. Yep. Sounds good. Cool. I was rushing a bit to get this one ready, actually, guys. Like literally about 8 minutes before, and it's like, oh yeah, I got to make certain this works and that works, and my tea's here and my drink's there because my throat and everything. And it's like, oh, manic. Yeah. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good night, good Hanukkah, whatever, whatever day it is for all you guys out there. Cheers to everybody who joined me on the last stream. If you were able to make that, fantastic. You don't have to make all 3 of them, but just make as many as you can or watch them afterwards. Either way, I'm happy. So hopefully we'll get a few here. I can see quite a few regulars already turning up. Louis, Luke, Vala, the Fireball. Where's that from? And of course, Gems and Biscuits. Nick as well. Chewy's always a regular. So hopefully to see more of you here. So you'll notice there's a bit more of a, shall we say, fancy schmancy setup there. In fact, I might want to just give these people a shout out for actually suggesting this. Basically, yesterday when I was doing the Board Game Geek version, it was pointed out that despite my attempts to avoid spoilers with the top banner at the bar, it turned out that accidentally I couldn't do anything about the left-hand side where it has the, the recently played or recently looked at. And if the astute of you, the very eagle-eyed of you, were able to look at that and go, oh, that's his ranking. And it's like, yeah, that's actually quite true. So what we've done, I gotta find my inbox somewhere. Somewhere I will find my inbox. I think it's called, where are we? I want to say thanks to these people. Here we go. Yeah, Traveling Meeples is how they're known on Facebook. They messaged me to basically, see if I can get on there. Yep, Traveling Meeples. We had a conversation, and they told me about Google Slides. It's like, I'd never heard of Google Slides. What on earth is it? And apparently it's a way to create a PowerPoint slideshow on Google. So in my lunch break, I was able to put together a big slideshow of the top 120 to 11, and I will do the same for tomorrow night's 10 to 1. And I think it's going to just make it look a little bit better, and I might even be able to use this template for other content, especially live top 10s in the future. Use this instead of traipsing all over Board Game Geek and risk spoilers. So should be pretty good. But I mean, if you're here, thank you very much. Feel free to thank them as well. But yeah, all good. Hello, Kabuki Kid. He seems to be on every single stream everywhere. Not sure how he has the time, but fair enough. We'll go with it. And right, let's make a start. So, going on to, I'm going to say my throat's going to last. We'll go for 20 to 11 today. We've only got 2 new games on this one, but there has been a shift both up and down in terms of games that you're going to see on here. It was quite good getting this PowerPoint done, actually, and getting the photos and the posters for the slides, because it's like, I can't wait to talk about some of these games. You've got a mix. You've got Amerifresh, you've got Euro, you've got Light, you've got Heavy, and the new ones I think people are going to recognize when they hear them, especially where one of them's had a bit of a rise. So hopefully this will do well for you. So let's see. Oh, sorry. Yeah, my bad. This is what happens when I this is what happens when I try and rush things or something. I get genders wrong in that. So sorry about that, Kabuki. My apologies. Let's see, calm down a minute, take a moment to chill, and we'll get on with it. So, I'm not going to be able to focus very well on camera and chat to a great extent while I'm in this mode, because it will be full screen. So I'll have to just basically pop into the chat when I can. So I'm probably going to miss a few comments here and there, because I still don't know how to get the chat to work on my phone. And this is full screen for me. Actually, maybe if I take it out of full screen, will that look worse for you lot? Let's see. Nope, I need to put it in full screen. Yep. There we go. So, that should be good. And I can just go back. There we go. Yeah. So, number 20. Number 20. Looking at my sheet, because otherwise I won't know. It's the first new of the 2 entries on the list. I love deck builders. Deck builders are great for me. I enjoy them. They're great fun, and I like it when it's a pure deck builder. I don't like I'm less of a fan when something goes, oh, this is an area control game with role selection and worker placement. Oh, and we've just scraped this deck building thing here. So yeah, GWT, case in point. But with this one, this is a pure deck builder. Only got to play it about a year ago. Wondered why I'd never got to play it before. I found it at a bring and buy, very cheap, bought all the sets after that, got in touch with the designer, he's a lovely bloke, and it is the cutest deck builder ever. Dale of Merchants. Dale of Merchants with all its cuddly little cute animal folk and its incredibly good artwork. I mean, I hope you like the brushstroke style of the slideshow. You don't need to see flat pictures, but as you can see, I mean, the artwork in this is absolutely gorgeous. And when you get to the components themselves, equally the art looks really nice on the cards. It's basic in a sense, but it just looks really cute and colorful. But Dale of Merchants is a really cool, simple deck builder. Easy rules. You've only got one of 4 actions you can do on a turn, and most of the time you do one of 2 of them, and even then the actions themselves are simplistic. But you've got all the different animal folks with their sort of tweaks on how they change up the game. You combine so many of them together to create your merchant market deck there on the left, and you're essentially racing to 8 stacks. It's not a victory point game. It's a race. So the first one to build 8 stalls, or stacks, whatever they're called, wins the game. And they're built using the number values on the top, but the number values also correspond to the cost of a card, as well as the currency that it provides. So everything's nice, like multi-use cards. But with the amount of animals that are in this, there's now 3 sets plus a collector's set. And there's just so many combinations of animals I can do. I mean, you've got the owls here who are very good at sort of laying in wait, and they're based on what you kind of set things in motion and then it pays off. The crocodiles are mean as all get out. The sloths, I forget what they do. It's been a while since I've used those. Pandas, they're very good with the market, as pandas are apparently. Raccoons, you can see like Rocket Raccoon there effectively. They are just constantly like, I'm I'm gonna steal all your stuff and be really mischievous, and you just get lots of really cool combinations. But it's simple to play and good fun. I wish there was an app version of this, and I wish I could play it solo, but I can teach this to all sorts of players, and it just gives me the feeling of a nice, cute and simple deck builder, which I do get a kick out of. So yes, I can just do I can see the chat from there. So how's people's feelings on this? By the way, if you've got your own 20 to 11 or 10 to 1, then by all means, put them in the chat and see what people think. Maybe you're saving it for the 10 to 1, but we'll see how we good. It is definitely very tight till the end. I mean, you tend to maybe get the occasional game where one person kind of walks away with it, but most of the time I've had one game where I literally won by the skin of my teeth only by pulling off a cool combination with the flying squirrels and like messing around with stalls. Literally, I had to pull off this exact combo, otherwise I was about to lose to 2 other players in the following turns. It was just like, it was really close, but love this, and it's got a very good tabletop simulator mod for it as well. So my number 19 is not new. This is a game I played when I first went to Essen. I posted up on Facebook my memories of it recently, and this game from our Tip Your Games was just released there. Didn't really know anything about it. This was one of those like games that just popped out of nowhere and wowed me. I got to basically play out my life in this game, because it is basically Life, the Euro game. Everything about this is just play it how you like, create your own life. That is, of course, Pursuit of Happiness. This one just completely won me over when I played it. Yes, it's an abstracted card game in a sense, but the theme does come out strong because you've got all these different things that you can do in your life, much like the game of life, except this time I don't have to have kids if I don't want them. Seriously, every time I played Life, I end up with like, I'm not a kid person, okay? I'm an accountant, I'm a geek, I'm single, not by choice, and, I'm not into having kids. Yet every time I play the game of life, I somehow end up as a checkout assistant and with about 4 or 5 pegs in the back of my car of screaming kids as I'm trying to drive around hoping I can get to Millionaire's Mansion. It's like seriously, why does my life go weird and, obscure when I play the game of life? But with this one, you get not only one of the most colorful looking boards ever, it's a simplistic worker placement game with your hourglasses, the spaces in the kind of like the right hand side of the board here. They're very simple. They get you these resources that you use to buy all these cards, and these blue ones here are projects. You've got green items, activities, you've got the jobs, you've got the dates, partners there on the bottom left, and you can pretty much do what you want. You're trying to get the most points, yes, long-term happiness. You start off at teenage age, work your way up to old age before you all die, and that's the end of the game. Sounds morbid, but hey, that's life. And I just love the stories this tells. When you are picking these cards. Sometimes you're doing it because the resources suit you. Other times, like when I play with certain friends, we literally pick them just because it sounds hilarious. And we are constantly making jokes and references at each other's lives when we do this. Or, we're sort of going, do I fancy dating Claire or do I fancy dating Eric this time? And I've done all sorts of crazy combinations in this game. The first time I played it, I was just creating myself. So I had a game collection, I was a Games Workshop. I had models there. What else did I do? I was a nerd. I took a business type job. I didn't go on a date, but that seems to be true. And there was just loads of cool stuff I did. But I've had friends who are bikers in their old age before becoming ninjas. And I remember one game, I managed to survive the whole game on nothing but temp jobs. And my girlfriend, because my girlfriend in this game was one of the ones that got you money as you were dating her. So I basically used her money, but took her on all sorts of really cool activities whilst doing a paper round. It was insane. You can, nasty as it is, date two partners in this game. And I did try it once. Didn't go well. Well, I say didn't go well. I came second, but yeah, I didn't win. It's like, it lets you date two partners, but not without a serious repercussions. But I thought I'd try and do it for a laugh, and yeah, it was a bit harder than it looked. But it's just, you can just tell so many interesting stories with this, and I just get an absolute kick out of this one. I love teaching it. I've got both expansions, experiences, and community. Trying to remember my names, and it just goes over so well. Really enjoy it. Looking at the chat, hello Marcus, John, and Werful Reviews. Thanks, and Groom. Thanks for joining me on this one. So, moving on to something a little bit less thematic. In fact, this one's probably going to get me a lot of, shall we say, flack, because I go on about theme all the time. I do. I love theme. It's everything I speak of. Not every game I love has to have a theme, though. Some of them can be themeless. I did enjoy Gaia Project for a while and Terra Mystica. They were themeless, abstract Euro games, basically. And I enjoyed them. I don't have them anymore, but I give them respect. Sometimes a themeless game just, ticks all my boxes, rubs me the right way. I have no idea. It just somehow works. And this is the exception to the rule, big time, for a game that has no theme, might as well be an abstract, but it's just a collection of point salad mechanics that works fantastically well. It's set in space, it doesn't really matter. Pulsar 2849. Vladimir Suchi, how did you manage to do this to me? To give me a game which not only was completely themeless, but just works. I love the dice mechanics in this. It's no the dice has to be at least this high. No, it's what die do you need? 2, 6, 4? You need it that exact number. Nice and simple. You've got so many options in this game. Do I want to go fly around? Yeah, I don't know where the third photo seems to have gone on this one, but never mind. But you essentially, do I want to fly around the planets and go exploring and get points that way? Do I want to build these pulsar rings around, the gyrodynes and send them spinning? Do I want to get a bucket load of text? You can see in the top left of the picture there with all the text. Do I want to build up my HQ board? Do I want to, do I want to get the transmitters and build the giant radio station in space? You can do whatever you like in this game, and your games will be fundamentally different every time with a brand new path to victory. And, sometimes you'll think I'll do a bit of everything, but sometimes you just do a massive focus. The technologies, those boards there, that comprises of 3 separate boards. There's an A, B, C, D for every single one of those. So you have got so many different combinations of technologies, it's ridiculous. Plus your HQ board, plus the planets will be in different locations. It's just so good. And I love this mechanic here with, I know, I'm loving a mechanic with tracks, shoot me now. But I've got the dice here, which teaches people what medians are. The amount of times I say the word median and people look at me dumbfounded. Seriously, do people not do basic GCSE maths? But, allocating the dice and drafting those dice and the dice affecting you on these 2 tracks for turn order and getting engineering cubes. It's a track. But I love the decision that's made with, I need this die because I need that die to go get that tech. But if I do that, I've got to go all the way back on this track. Oh, do I want to take that sacrifice? I don't know. I cannot explain why this one just worked, but it did. Maybe it's also because I think a lot of it is A, variety of the options. Love a game that gives me a lot of options. 2, streamlined. This is a very streamlined midweight game. You know, when you read the rules to this, it's simpler than it appears when you look at this board, and so it's easy enough for me to teach. It's got a good reference aid, everything's crystal clear iconography-wise, you know, for the most part. The spaced walks are a little bit weird, but other than that, it looks very colourful. I mean, the components aren't exactly stellar, but it's nice and colourful. And, what was it? Options, streamlined, and it's short. Ish. This game should not take you more than 2 hours. This is one of those games that should be a 90-minute to 2-hour affair, even with 4 players. Fantastic. Doesn't take too long. Lots of options. Yes, it's themeless, but I don't care in this instance. And it just really worked. And I know that people are going to say Pulsar is garbage. In fact, one of you already is, Werful, and I have no, no qualms about that at all. I mean, there are loads of, there's loads of people that could easily hate this game, and I can easily see why. You know, there's plenty enough that you could probably hate about it, but for some reason, it just worked for me. I mean, you've only got to teach, what have you got to teach? About 7 or 8 actions. Each one is pretty simplistic. It's basically, here's the die, spend it, get what you need, and generate the points. 2 dice every round, a bonus die. I don't think it's that fiddly or complicated, to be honest. It's just one of those games that worked. It's going to be probably the biggest exception to my rule. I'm pretty certain it's high up on my top 10 list that I did with exceptions to the rule. It just really, really, really worked. So here we go. Next up. Oh. I must have done something weird with the animation control on the Google slide or something. I must have accidentally animated the picture so it came in on a click. Oh well, there you go. There's a top-down view of all the things. You've even got the gold tiles there. So again, more variety, but let's move on. So, 17. We are going on to another deck builder, and this will be my favorite deck build. Yeah, we're not including like deck building as in an LCG. This is my favorite deck builder. Very marginally above Dale of Merchants. This one is still my favorite, whether it's in its base form or its premium form, which I've got both on my shelf actually. One of you called it earlier. You know me very well. I'm not going to dwell on it too much because I love this underrated gem that is Valley of the Kings. I don't care if it's the small version, which is portable for travel, or the big premium version. This deck builder is just brilliant. I mean, it's a typical deck builder in a sense. You know, you start off with basic cards and you build up your deck with cool abilities and you try and create cool combos. Okay, that's no different. So why does this one change? Well, a lot of it, and you can see the base form and the premium form left and right there. Basically what this one does is that you draw the cards from this pyramid on the left. And you draw from the bottom. As you draw from them, the pyramid collapses and refills, so you've got access to different cards at different times. Cost in the top right, the scarab being the currency. All of these cards are unique, so they're all in sets, and there's unique cards in each of them. I think there's like 2 of each card max, apart from the purples that are unique, and they've all got different abilities. But the sets kind of make the abilities like work with each other, like the jars on the bottom right there. That Canopic jar, they tend to be annoying abilities, like they tend to hurt your opponent, and the yellows tend to be pretty good at going for your discard pile. It varies on that. But with the 2 expansions or the premium set, depending which one you get, I've got loads of different cards. You can combine them. But what's the unique part of this game? Well, most deck builders want you to build your deck, get points by the cards you shove in your deck. Doesn't work like that with this. You have a tomb next to you, and the idea is that you are preparing for your eventual burial. So you don't score anything in your deck. You score what you put in your tomb. But putting stuff in your tomb is not easy. You can only do it once a turn for 1 card only. You have to use other card abilities to entomb the cards for later. But there's a catch. You're doing it for set collection. The more you get off a set, the more points you get. It's like 1, 4, 9. It's a squared scale, I think, whatever they call it. And with this, you've got the different sets, so people will aim for different sets and that. But here's the catch. Once it's in your tomb, you can't get it back. So you have to make this choice as the game timer is going through, i.e. this pyramid thing and the deck of cards. When do I start entombing lots of cards? This card is really good. When do I keep it in my hand? Do I keep it in my hand, or do I use it? Or do I actually put it in my tomb? But if I put it in my tomb, I don't get the cool ability again. So I'll hang on to the card for a while and let its ability run through. The game is kind of accelerating. I need to get in my tomb. I get in my tomb. And it's such a cool balancing act that just seems to, it gives this a unique twist on the typical deck builder. The portable version on the left still looks nice. It's good, clear graphic design, and it comes in a titchy little box. I can't quite reach it from here. But you've got the bigger premium set here with player powers, which are really cool, and these tarot-sized cards with really nice artwork. I will concede the graphic design is a little bit worse on the new set than it is the old set. There's a couple of things that are slightly unclear, but I do love, I love my premium set, and I've kept the basic one with all the expansions. It's just such a cool deck builder. I mean, deck building with a twist. I already mentioned Dominion like a long time ago or something like that. Many tens of lists ago, I mentioned Dominion, and it just sings to me. Now, granted, Egyptian themes are getting overused at the moment. I mean, somebody mentioned Ankh, Gods of Egypt. Is that the new Eric Lang one? Couldn't care less, really. Tekenu, I've got in the other room. It doesn't really have much of a theme, but again, that's Egyptian ones. I think Egypt is starting to get overused a little bit, but, all well and good. Someone's mentioned it should be on Board Game Arena. Yeah, this would be a good one for Board Game Arena, I think. I would really like it. But yeah, the cards are all cool. The abilities are all different. Some of them feel a bit more powerful than others or easier to use, but you can create some funky combos, particularly with those new player powers. And there's a solo mode as well. So this one just really sings to me. And yeah, it's going to be I think that phrase is just going to get used a lot. So number 16, worker placement Euro game. Light, midweight. I'd still call this midweight, even though it's a light, it's not the most difficult game to teach. There's still a fair bit you've got to learn beforehand. But I think this is probably the most popular game that they've released in this trilogy per se, although a lot of people talk about the second one in the trilogy. Personally, I grew out of that one, didn't particularly like it as enough. Well, I liked it at first, but then I got bored. This one uses worker placement with a twist. Again, with a twist. I like the idea that a game can do something unique. And this one, you get all the workers at the start of the game. Okay, there's no rounds. Okay, where are you going with this? Your workers make the more workers you have on the space, the more powerful the action is. Okay, really cool. What else is there? Oh, you can nick each other's workers and dump them in prison. Okay, hang on, sign me up here. Yeah, Architects of the West Kingdom, easily my favorite. Well, I say easily my favorite of the West Kingdom trilogy. Viscounts of the West Kingdom is pretty good as well. I'm probably going to say that I prefer Architects a little bit, but after my first impressions of Viscounts of the West Kingdom, whoa, that's going to be solid when that comes out later this month, I hope. But Architects it looks gorgeous. Look at some people don't like this style of artwork. I think it's pretty cool. I love the color in it. There's just color oozing off that board. But this is easily my favorite. This is currently my favorite hit from Garphill Games. The graphic design, pretty straightforward overall. The rules of the game are not that complex. You are basically just putting your workers out, getting resources, and either building buildings or building the church. Pretty straightforward. But the fact that you've got these apprentices on the bottom left there to get cool bonuses, so that when let's say, for example, the swindler, if I go to the black market, I get 2 extra brick. Cool, all right, then I'll grab him. Maybe I'll grab someone else who helps me at the black market. Cool, I'm going to go to the black market often and trigger these cool things. These apprentices allow you to try out different paths to victory. But then there's different paths to victory, like going for the church or the cathedral, the church or the buildings, or focusing on the virtue track on the left. And I love that. If you're too high in virtue, you can't go to the black market. But if you're too low in virtue, they won't let you at the church, but then you get to discount all the worker spaces that charge you tax. So you kind of do this balancing act with your virtue as well as everything else. Asymmetrical player powers and the Artisans expansion. This one I think was a 9 out of 10, possibly a 10 out of 10 when I first played it. Artisans brings it easily to a 10 out of 10 game. Artisans adds ways that you can customize your apprentices further with extra things they give you, and you can also build these extensions onto your buildings for extra points and one-off bonuses. In fact, it actually fixes one of my only flaws with the base game, which is that when you had a lot of money in the base game, you didn't really have a lot to do with it. It was kind of just sitting there. But, what am I supposed to spend it on? It's not worth many points. I don't need all this money. Artisans fixes that by bringing in those yellow upgrades for the buildings because they cost money to use and you can get the tax discount as well. I will never teach this game without Artisans. It adds barely any complexity, but just elevates the game to a legendary status for me. I really just go for it. And I know loads of other people sort of go, oh, well, I prefer Paladins of the West Kingdom. Fair enough. I liked it at first, but it got duller as it went on because it is just basic. It's a themeless point salad, and I know I just mentioned Pulsar, and that was good at the first, but when you play Paladins a few times, you realize there's only really 3 ways to play it because you got to do the seesaw action stuff with the actions you take. Like, I take this action so that I spend red in order to get black, so I can spend black at this one to get blue. You've only got about 3 ways that you can do that, and then they don't feel very differentiated. I'm going to go kill off these invaders. That feels pretty much the same as building the wall, as does building these churches, and as making these vases. Oh wait, everything feels the same. It just didn't work for me. Not to mention Paladins is only really best played solo because there's no interaction at all. But, I don't think Paladins is bad. It just wasn't for me, and I just got a bit bored with it after a while. But a lot of people like it, which is fine. I don't know what the expansion is going to bring. I'll be interested to see if it elevates or not. But like I say, it just isn't for me. Viscounts, though, very hopeful. So far, so good. But Architects is still going to remain a staple in this collection. Oh, I think it's time for a moment of recollection and ginger tea. Ginger and honey, I might add. Right. Next up, number 15. Oh, yeah, I probably should mention some stats. I haven't been mentioning those. I do apologize. Pursuit of Happiness. What did that do? That's gone up 7 places. It's actually, been better for me. Pulsar 2849 has dropped 4 places. No, is it? Trying to look. Yeah, dropped 4 places. Whatever. Makes no difference. Valley of the Kings gone up 5 places. So that's, most of these are kind of going up and down a few places, but nothing too drastic. And Architects of the West Kingdom was up 5 places. So, a few of these games are just elevating themselves slightly better, either with expansions or just more plays. So, number 15, we got a grandiose, a Merifrashi style game. Well, I think this is a Merifrashi. This is kind of what FFG does, really. It's, let's see, this one has gone down 3 places, whatever, it makes no difference. But this game takes one of my favorite IPs of all time and combined it into a game which is similar to another game you may or may not hear about later on, but it basically brought app integration with this IP with an adventure-style game that so far has just been fantastic fun for me. I love Lord of the Rings. I love Journeys in Middle-earth. This one, I just play solo. I haven't even played it in a group, I don't think. I play with, say, 2 characters on the go, sometimes even 3. And I've got the DLC campaign, which is arguably better than the first campaign, I will admit. But there is a sadness I have to report. I was too late to get the Shadowed Path expansion in July before it sold out. A moment of silence for me not getting an expansion. Okay, whatever. I'm still waiting for it, though. I've pre-ordered it, and now I'm just waiting impatiently to get it. I want more content for this game. But this one has use of one of the best forms of app integration in any game. It just handles all the bookkeeping for you. All the story narratives, the stuff you explore, the turn sequence, the round sequence, everything is handled so well by this app with ambient music and good graphics. The app's there on the right, and I could think of better pictures I could have found, but everything's crystal clear on it, and it's just such an easy to use app. But you take control of these famous characters like Aragorn or Gimli or I was about to say Boromir, no, Bilbo. And I think even a couple others you haven't really heard of unless you read the books. And you build this little mini deck of cards. It's got starter cards in it, like the ones on the bottom right. But then depending on what class you are and what character you are, you get unique cards. And then as you go through the different scenarios, you get more cards that you can upgrade to replace ones in there. It uses this cool kind of push-your-luck system. Well, not push-your-luck. It's kind of like rolling the dice in a sense, but you can tweak your deck to work with it. So these notches on the top left of the card, they there's a different icon that represents successes. These ones are kind of partial successes, like you can convert them into successes. But basically, every time you do a skill test, you draw cards from your deck, depending on your skill level, and see how many of the successes on the cards you get. So if you build your deck to have a lot of those in there, you've got more chance of passing the skill tests. But then you might want some cards that are really good abilities, but don't have the symbols on them. So it's just like really good ways to tweak your deck. But I just love the thematic nature of this. Lord of the Rings just sings to me as an IP. I love the movies. I've read the books. Well, I say read, I listened to the audiobooks, which meant I listened to a lot of singing. So I swear, Lord of the Rings is a musical. The only thing I haven't... Well, actually, I watched most of it all the way through. Most of it I know from Nostalgia Critic, but I've watched the part of the Ralph Bakshi, how do you pronounce his name? Ralph Bakshi version of Lord of the Rings, where they used a lot of retroscope animation and that. There's pros and cons to the Peter Jackson ones and that animated one as well, but they're both good fun to watch. I just love Lord of the Rings. This one just gives me that in a box with a cool app. A good thematic setting. I get to be, Legolas shooting down goblins from afar, Gimli going in as a protector with a tank, Bilbo doing the, going to all the different exploration things. Time is of the essence. It's quite hard. The game is quite hard, even if you play it on like easy mode. Although they have put in an explorer mode where it gives you a bit more time. That helps, but dispatching a lot of these enemies is still pretty tough. It's just such a fun game though, and I know not everybody's going to love it, but somebody's doing a sings to me count. Okay, right, I'm going to do my best not to say it now. I'm going to try and put you on. What have we got there? The rewards on this one are kind of dull. Inspiration everywhere. Well, inspiration is a useful thing to have. I kind of need it. I do agree, Valor. Yeah, a moment of silence for the people who got ripped off buying an extra pack for base game miniatures. I mean, yeah, I love the game. Doesn't mean I like FFG's distribution pattern. The fact that they never have stock for this, never works well. They don't issue out enough copies. And I don't like the fact that they brought out those little booster packs, which literally give you, I think, free cards and free miniatures and expect you to pay like 10, 12 quid for them. I mean, yes, FFG, stop it now, right? No, stop. But they're not going to. They're just going to milk you for money, which sadly works on me. But I do hate their distribution model, but I love this game. And no, I'm not doing a top 10 games that sing to me. Stop it. Number 14. Let's see. Number 14. Nope, new title's not coming yet. Number 14. Oh, it's dropped 9 places. This was my number 5 game last year, and it's now 14. Oh no, woe is me. It's still a really good, fun game. It just probably hasn't hit the table as much, especially as I would like to play it more with the final expansion tweaks included, but it's very difficult to include those tweaks because you need to find people who know how to play Scythe. That's not a common thing. It's a big crate that I have to cart around everywhere, even though I have pimped it up to all get out. Metal coins, replacement wooden pawns, the expansion encounter cards, which are really good. You really want those expansion encounter cards. They are so interesting. But yeah, some people love to hate it, but I personally love it. And I love the fact that in the Dice Tower's People Choice, it constantly beats out Terraforming Mars. So Scythe is just a fun game for me, and I'm going to make certain I don't say that line. But it's a great Euro game, pretty streamlined to an extent. There are some little rules in there, but when you get used to the game, it's just such an easy one to play out with people who know how to play the game. Turn, done this, done. Turn, right, done this, done. And it just goes around nice and quick. I remember a time where 7 of us who knew the game well played it in 90 minutes. 90 minutes to play Scythe with 7 players. This was insanely fast, but it was such a good fun game. I can't remember if I won it or not, but doesn't matter. But looks gorgeous. I mean, the artwork in it's great. I like I suppose the miniatures are sort of basic miniatures, but I like having the different mechs. I like the action boards being asymmetrical. I love your faction being asymmetrical. I like the fact that I can choose whether I want to go heavy upgrade, heavy mech, heavy people, heavy manufacturing, whatever. Do I go to the factory or not? I don't know. I could leave it. Or do I go hunt down every encounter card I find? Different factions have got their own different strengths and weaknesses, or maybe I'm just going to go beat up on the Reds because they're invading my space. It's a brilliant Euro game for me because it's kind of weird. It combines a lot of different mechanics and it just feels smooth. I suppose it's because I'm used to the game now. Granted, when you first play the game, you're probably thinking, oh, so what should I do? What should I do? But when you've just had a couple of games of it, it just clicks. It clicks and you're well in there. And so when you play this with people who know what they're doing, it's speedy, still fun. It's effectively an efficiency puzzle at the end of the day. You know, you're trying to be efficient with your actions, but I've had games play out very differently. I love the fact that your sort of style of play will change quite dramatically depending on your combination of your faction board and that. The expansions with the airships are really cool. I like the 2 new factions they brought in. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but the Fenris expansion introduces some elements to the game which are fantastic. If you've got people who know how to play Scythe, get Fenris, play through the campaign. It's not the biggest story narrative in the world, but you could always just cannibalize the game and take out all the modules as it gives you rules to do that. You could be like, screw the campaign, I don't care, I just want these cool modules. You can do that. You can do that. Buy Fenris and do it, but best thing I bought for it though, the mini expansion encounter cards. They replace all the original encounter cards because some of them were like kind of a bit too generic, but these new ones, they're kind of partially designed by fans and they've got all sorts of weird effects. I mean, they do all sorts of crazy stuff, some game breaking in a sense, but you know, it varies and it just adds a bit more variety to the game. But Scythe still a hit with me, and I'm curious what the chat's saying on this one. For the most part, people are enjoying it. Scythe, elegant design, that's another one I would say. Spicer number 1, Fenris makes it explore. Yes, Scythe Digital Edition is pretty good. It's a little bit buggy in some respects, and it has a bit of a learning curve with its interface, but I've played the Digital Edition, it does me fine. Scythe Sickle, that'd be a weird name for an expansion. But still, I really get, trying to make sure, don't say the line, but really enjoy this one. Yes, it's my 14 instead of my number 5. I've just, I think it's just kind of settled down a bit in this area. I think maybe because I couldn't get it to the table with all the extras in it, that was kind of letting me down. But I played it a couple of times recently at my Portsmouth club, and I've brought my playmat with my pimped up Legendary Edition with all the extra bits in it, the realistic resources, and it just reminded me of like, yes, this is fun. I really like this game. The only expansion you don't want for it, the modular board. That's, well, I don't want to say it's stupid, but it was a missed opportunity. It's just a bit too meh. And I still kind of suck with the blue and black faction. I don't know why. I've won maybe once with the blacks. I've not won with the blue ever. Oh no, scratch that. I won once with the blue, but I was playing complete newbies to the game. So, there was only so much I could do wrong in that game. But my favorite faction is easily yellow. If I'm playing yellow, chances are I will not lose. I'm very good with yellow. Not too bad with red either. White varies. Green I'm doing okay with. Purple's a very tricky faction to use. But yeah, I just suck with blue and black. It varies. Next up. In fact, how are we doing for time? I can't see. We still got 21 minutes. All right, we're not doing too bad here. So, number 13, still a game you've heard before. This one has, let's see if I can read. I really should have got a ruler for this sheet so I could actually see all the way across. It's gone up a place. 1 place. That must mean it's the best game ever, right? Yeah, not quite that bad. But this is another Heavy Euro. So, Heavy Euro. What's the next line that comes after this? Oh, it's got to be thematic. I suppose this is pretty thematic, actually, for what Euro it is. I mean, you can do a lot of different stuff, and it makes it, I would call this a thematic game. It's Uri Rosenberg. He's pretty good on theme. But I already mentioned the praises of Caverna a while back. And a little while ago, certainly in the last couple of top 100s, this game would have been fighting Caverna for the top spot. Like, which one do I like? Which one do I like more? I don't know. It's so close, so close. Now the gap's widened. And a lot of that is because I've realized why I enjoy the game so much. And the Tea and Trade expansion certainly helped. Fields of Arle is just amazing for me because Heavy Euro with theme. Hello, I've been saying this a lot. It just works. But this one has so much variety in the path to victory you can take and what options you can do that it's almost impossible to even play enough of them in your time. Every time I play this game, I want to do everything. I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do that. But you can't. well, you can try. You might not necessarily win, but I have all these options and I just want to do everything on the board. I mean, look at that. That bottom left photo there. It is a table hog, and that's just with 2 players in the base game. Granted, I rarely play this with 2 players. The tea and trade adds a 3rd player, which actually works quite well. It shortens the game rounds-wise and gives you a boost at the start. And 3 players actually works quite well with this game. Certainly makes the worker placement side very, shall we say, tight. But I love playing this solo. When I just want a Euro game about farming and making and breeding animals and stuff like that, that will give me so many different options of what to do, this is the one I want to put out. Because, well, let me just give you a quick rundown here. So, you can make clothing. You can make resources. You know, look at the top right photo. You've got clothing, resources. You can make vehicles. You can transport stuff to neighboring areas, Norden and Haga, for example, to make this like path track on the left of the board on the photo below it. You can, let's see what else you can do. You can clear peat from your bog. You can make buildings. You can build stalls. You can raise animals of 3 different types. I think 3 different types. You can make corn. You can make, reed. You can, what's the other one? Is it just corn and weed? I think it's just corn and weed. Oh, wood. Grow wood. And you can, I've only mentioned the clothing. And that's just base set with your player board. Did I mention you've got all these tools on the main board with the worker placement spaces where when you go to the space you get a reward, but you can level up the tools in order to make the action space better for you? You could spend your whole game just leveling up tools. And then you bring in tea and trade and you can export to overseas, a bit like the exporting the villages, but there's a bit of a difference. You've now got a tea resource. You could just harvest tea or spend it in order to do boosted actions. It's blowing my mind just talking about it. The choices in this game is overwhelming, but in a really good way. It is a point salad through and through. Everything you do in this game feels rewarding because you get points. And it can lead to some really tight finishes. I kid you not, I have lost and won this game by half a point at times. It really has come that close. But I just set it up and go, what do I fancy doing today? And then I spend about a quarter of an hour trying to think about what I want to do because there's just so many options and I want to do them all. I want to try out this tool. I want to focus on fishing. I want to focus on animals. It's just so good. It brings me exactly what I want from a heavy Euro. In fact, I would dare say, no, it's not my favorite. It's not my most favorite heavy Euro, but you know, there are ones that don't have as many options that I do prefer still. But this one just, it is, I don't know what to describe it as. It's, how would you describe something with that much variety? It's the ultimate buffet for a Eurogamer. It's just a buffet of different things that I can do, and I get to pig out on this table and do exactly what I like. It just works so well. Anybody else played this one? Let's have a look. Rosenberg, no go. Oh, that's a shame, mate. How is Isle at 3 players? It works fine. It boosts your actions at the start of the game, so you get to start with an extra building or some tools leveled up, and it also shortens the rounds, and you get a slightly revised worker placement board. So normally I think you play through 9 rounds or 8 rounds. I think now you play through like 6 or 7, so it shortens the length of the game rounds-wise, but still keeps it at about the same length as a normal 2-player is. I like playing it with 3-player, I like playing it with 2, but it is just one of the ultimate solo Euro games there. It's a big box, not gonna lie, but I think I did a video on a E-Raptor insert for Fields of Isle, and I can get the expansion in the base box, so it's just, really do love this one. Is it better than Agricola for replay value? Oh, hands down. I mean, Agricola, everybody's farm looks the same in Agricola. I've already mentioned this on the Caverna thing last 10. You know, everybody's farm looks the same because you need to get everything in order to not lose points. The only differentiation is the occupation cards, which are cool, but some of them are like way more powerful than others, and that is the replay value, just those occupation cards, and that's assuming you even play them during the game. This one just has a lot of replay value out of the gate. I don't have to hope that a certain card turns up in my hand in order to play it. No, all the tools are there. Everything is there for you. All you got to do is decide whether you want to do it or not. The ultimate sandbox game. Number 12. Hope everybody's liking the PowerPoint side of things. Anyway, I think this is working a lot better than Board Game Geek, and I do love these. I love this brushstroke style artwork. It works. I nearly said it again. Alright, now we get on to the second of the new games on this list. There was 2 on this set of 10. This is the next... Is it the new one? No, this can't be new. Hang on a minute. No, it's not new. Ah, my spreadsheet is slightly wrong. That's not good. Yep, okay, I lie. There's only 1 new game on this list. For some reason, my spreadsheet coloured this one blue to say it was new, but never mind. It's still a really awesome game. It has risen 11 places, though, so there is still a good thing to come from this. This one has gone up in my ratings as it's getting a lot of support from its publisher and designer, and it has to admit, as much as I do have the previous game for this on my shelf, I've yet to try it with its campaign expansion yet, and I'm hoping that will rejuvenate it a bit, but maybe it might leave my No, it won't. I still like the game, but the successor to this, Empires of the North, Ignacy Trzewiczek and Portal Games, this easily beats out Imperial Settlers. This one is just such a good, streamlined, like, tableau building, engine building game. And granted, the whole Empires of the North is getting a little bit out of hand now because we seem to be going more south as the expansions go on. In fact, I know he wants to do the Egyptians and something else like Egyptian expansion. Yeah, North. Come on, it's getting a little bit ridiculous. I mean, is this going to be Empires of the South, Empires of the Equator? I don't know, but this one is just so good. It's well produced. You've got all the wooden resources, but in Imperial Settlers, you kind of had to deck build after a while, and that was a bit of a problem with it. It always lasted 5 rounds. It could last a little bit of a long time. I tend to only play Imperial Settlers solo. Maybe I'll have to do a solo play at that at some point and relearn the rules. But this one, you don't deck build. You just decide, I want to play this faction, like the bottom. I want to play the Eskimo faction with the penguins. You take the deck, that's your deck. No deck building, no added cards from expansions. Every expansion just adds 2 more factions. And you just pick a faction, start with your farms, and off you go. Nice and quick. It's got a brilliant solo scenario mode, but even playing it multiplayer is still pretty good fun, even though I will say less players is better than more players. And it has a lot of stuff borrowed from Imperial Settlers. I mean, you can see from the cards. Storage in order to... Well, actually, that storage is unique to that particular faction, but, you know, they've got different actions like spend a worker and a fish to sail. And the extra things it throws in, you can sail your ships to distant or faraway islands. They get you bonuses, but you could also conquer the island, so it becomes part of your tableau and it gives you an extra special ability or action. But then you've also got the cards in front of you that give you more actions, more ways to score points, more way to get various resources, and the factions feel very different. If I take this one particular faction, it's going to play very differently to this other faction, particularly if you take the expansion factions. I've got the Barbarians one recently, I've got Romans, I've got Japanese, I can't wait for Egyptians, I just want more and more factions piled into this game. Ignacy is really giving this one some love, and I don't blame him. It's just that good. I've still got fond memories of playing this for the first time at UK Games Expo, I think last year, or was it the year before I did? I can't remember. And with this one, I played it 2-player against Ignacy, and Z Garcia had just come from playing this god-awful game, something about a card game about building robots. I can't remember what it was called, but he said it was like a 1 out of 10 instantly. It was quite amusing. But I played this with Ignacy, and Z was watching, we were having fun chatting in that, but wow, Ignacy is one of these players that I want to play every single Euro game with. I'm not joking. This guy can take his turns fast. Analysis paralysis does not happen with him. He's just got calculations going through his head like a mile a minute. So by the time I've even thought about my next turn, he's already taken his. It's like, oh, it's me. Right, I'll do this bit. And this bit. Oh, he's done. Jesus. It's like you're just going through at super fast speed. Probably the quickest game of Empires of the North I've ever played is against him. And I beat him. But I'm sure we'll have a rematch and he'll kick my butt. But I just really enjoyed the time, I enjoyed the game, I enjoy this game now, it is on my shelf, it will stay here. Like I said, it has risen 11 places, it is just getting better and better the more variety it adds. However, we do need a big box storage. Please, I had to chuck away half your insert because now I can't fit the factions in the actual cubby holds. So we could really use a big box storage for this portal, could you get on it? But yeah, bring me more factions. Don't confuse me with loads of extra mechanics, just give me 2 more unique factions that play very differently, and you got me. You know, if you weren't a fan of the original, then try this one. I say try it. It still has that same kind of engine building style mechanic, but it does streamline a few things, and the action wheel that you can do other actions for, like sailing and production and stuff like that, it feels different enough from Imperial Settlers and is infinitely better, I think, than Imperial Settlers. So I still say give this one a try. If you're not convinced after your first game, you'll never be convinced. So, you'll go there. And Nell Waltz, stop taking the mick out of me about the game singing for me. I'm the conductor. Was I don't know. Well, nah, I've never been that. Used to play the keyboard when I was young, actually. So, number 12 is Lords of Waterdeep, another game that fell out of my top 100 a long time ago. It did fall out of my top 100, but it is still in my collection. In fact, I'm going to play it with some friends next Monday with the playmat and the expansion and everything, because they've not played the Corruption expansion. So, Lords of Waterdeep is kind of like in my 120 top games or something. I mean, it is very close to my top 100. Is there a lot of take that in this game? No, there is pretty much very little take that. There is a way that you can collect these axes that you use mainly for sailing, and yes, you can use these axes to exhaust an opponent's building so it doesn't work for the next round, but that's rarely done, particularly in a big multiplayer game. It's more often with some factions than others, and it may happen a little bit more often in two-player games, but they only exhaust the building for a round. That's it. It then comes back. It doesn't get destroyed. You don't lose anything major for it. And to be honest, if somebody gets their engine going and it's generating them a lot of points, you kind of want to do that. And they kind of expect it. You're not just take that against people for the sake of take that. So seriously, and granted, there's not a huge amount of player interaction with this game, unfortunately, but that's why I play it mostly solo. It's just so good. So good as a solo game. And I agree, yes, it's not the biggest multiplayer game in the world, but as a solo game, oh, love it. And finally, to get us to the hour, 11. This one is definitely not new. This one has gone up 4 places. It was 15, now it's 11. People like to lord over Twilight Imperium 4. It's an alright game. I don't mind the Twilight Imperium games, but they're just way too long. Okay? Seriously. I know it's a 4X game-ish, although I question the exploration part of the 4X, really. I mean, the only way to get any half-decent exploration in that game is to use the thing where you flip counters or something and it gives you a random effect, which is polarizing, to say the least, because if you get a bad effect, that nerfs you for a good chunk of this 8-hour game. It's kind of ridiculous. But when I want a space game, some do Twilight Imperiums, some do Eclipse, boring, balance your checkbook and space, I don't care. I've not played Exodus Proxima Centauri, and there's been other space games. I tried Space Core 2210 AD or whatever it was, and if it wasn't for the fact I was playing it with Paul Grogan, I might have been bored to the point where I just wanted to eject myself into outer space. It's a 4-hour luck fest, do not play it. But Empires of the Void 2 is my space game. This is easily, yes, this is definitely it's my favorite space game. This is the space game for me. I already sung the praises years and years ago about the original Empires of the Void. This is from Ryan Lockett and Red Raven Games, and I'm probably going to mention how gorgeous this looks many a time, but oh my god, it's so gorgeous. This game, in its original form, already wowed me. A little bit unbalanced, but it was one of his first games and they went for it. This reprint, though, is how you do a reprint. Wow. The artwork turned up to 13 with his new style. The component quality being really good in this game. But I love the theme. It's so rich and flavorful because you get to do, again, what you feel like, but you've got all these different alien races and they're differentiated each game as to their layouts, and some might not appear. There's random events that happen on these various planets, and of which I think you select one event per planet in the game, but there's like 6 or 7 events per planet in the box, so you always get these different story elements. Your choice of whether you want to be diplomatic with a faction, so with an alien race, or conquer them, up to you. Conquer them, get their resources, get the points. Be diplomatic with them, you get the points, but instead of getting the resources, you get a perpetual ability and the chance to recruit said aliens to your ship so you can go fight other people. It's just so good. I love the turn selection mechanic. You have 5 actions, you pick an action, and then you do the action, and then everybody else after you has to take that same action or spend command points to do something different. So timing is of the essence, where you might do an action knowing that opponents can't do it as well as you. These cards on the bottom right, you've got delivery cards, action cards, I forget what the other one is, mission cards, and they're multi-use, so the power rating has a use as a currency thing. But then there's all these different things, like, this one's probably not the best example, rolling a die and seeing what it is. There is a bit of luck in this game, but, it's 2 hours and less, it's not too bad. And most space games have got a fair bit of luck in them. I mean, come on, Twilight Imperium 4 and, Eclipse have got their share of luck as well. But with this, it's just so rich in theme. It is oozing out of every part of the box lid. It's that good. And did I mention it looks gorgeous? Seriously, is anybody looking at this board and not thinking it looks gorgeous? Every time I get this board out on the table, I just drool. I need a cup nearby to drool as I play this game, because I'm just staring at the board in awe at how gorgeous this space artwork is. I want this board on my wall as a giant map of the solar system or something. Really, really good. But here, I just get to have the quintessential space game. Yeah, you're not necessarily exploring in this. It's more of a 3X game. But I get to decide where I want to go, who I want to ally with, who I want to conquer, occasionally hit on another player, though not very often. It depends if they're carrying cargo. But, the action selection works. I love the events. And it doesn't take too long. I mean, if people are familiar with this game, you can get through this game pretty fast. Even, it would take a bit longer with 4 or 5 players, but, I played this 2-player even. It worked fine with 2. I wish it had a solo mode. It sadly doesn't, but I just love it. Ooh, in fact, I've got the metal coins, the metal triangle coins or whatever there. I know there are some promo cards that speed the setup time. I wish to know more. I don't know about those. I would like to know about these promo cards. But why is everyone going on about me singing? I didn't say it this time. But yeah, some people say about Nemesis. Nemesis is a alright game. I did I did do an all-in pledge for the recent Kickstarter, so I do like it. I'm not sure if I call Nemesis a space game though. It's all set on the one ship or the one base. So it's a sci-fi game, but I wouldn't call it space because you're not really going around space. I enjoyed it with 2 players, I'll admit. Somebody's just asked. And honestly, I found it fine. I took it to Aircon and, I couldn't get any other players because people sort of thought, it was a bit intimidating. And I taught it to 1 player who wanted to know. We had a fun 2-player game. You just basically have this neutral faction clog up a lot of the various planets. So yeah, it is better with more players. I mean, you only need about 3 or 4 in the game. You don't need the max of 5. And 2 players, you will have less of the planets on the table to physically go and visit. But 2 players, a very quick game. I mean, you can get it done and then rinse, repeat, and have another game fairly quickly. It's just, so rich in theme. I love this one. This is the space game for me. No contest. I can't think of another spacefaring game that comes even close. In fact, I mean, if you remember the rest of my top 100, I don't think I've mentioned many, if any, other space games. Hard to say. I really don't. And people have mentioned Zyre, Legends of Adrift. I've not played it. I'd like to play Zyre. Oh yeah, wait a minute. Star Wars Outer Rim. Good space game. I like that one. But yeah, I've not played Zyre. I would like to try Zyre, but the idea that Zyre is literally like a million years in length if you play with more than 2 players is a bit of a put-off, especially for how random the game is. I mean, I watched Z and Tom play it in one time, and Z flew into the sun, which was hilarious. But, I got the impression from that playthrough, it's like, wow, yeah, this is a really random game. I mean, if people say that this game is random, Empires of the Void, play Zyre, because that's insanely random. Oh yeah, Star Wars Rebellion. Good point. Good point. Yeah, that is a space game. All right, so there's more than I thought, but this is definitely my favorite one that I do know. Whew. Hey, well, that worked quite well, and we're actually on to the hour mark, so I might just hang around for a couple of minutes to end this off, but what did you think of the presentation, the whole PowerPoint thing? Do you think that worked quite well? In terms of color scheme and pictures? Because what I'll have to do tomorrow is make certain I create one for the 10-1. Oh, isn't that going to be a lot, eh? I wonder how many people can guess half the stuff that's on my top 10. In fact, looking at it, I know for a fact 3 new games have made the top 10. And there has been some shifts, you know, in various places. So, yeah, 3 new games, but all of these top 10, oh, the creme de la creme. I love it, but I love all these games. Top 40 games, I think, are all 10 out of 10 ratings. Granted, a couple have, shall we say, slipped the mark and being 9 out of 10s is like, oh, I had to go correct those. I think someone mentioned my wingspan was actually a 9 out of 10 on my previous video. It's like, oh, I better go change that. Wingspan is a 10 out of 10 for me. So it kind of worked. But no, this, yeah, I think people quite like the, I was afraid somebody would say they like to see the full box art without the paint effect, but I like the paint effect. It just might look boring with that, but I don't know. Maybe I'll change it. Maybe I'll just put the full box art and then have the paint stroke effect for other pages. I just really like it. Or maybe I'll do the paint effect on one slide and then put a box cover on the next one with the number. So we'll see. Has anybody done that? Let's have a brief look at the chat in recent times. So you need to create some free space between each other to meet. I'm not quite certain what that's referring to. Life is random. Rebellion is awesome. I'm a Sandbox fan too. PowerPoint was smooth. Seven Wonders Duel is coming. We shall see. Sentinels in the Multiverse. We shall see. Arkham LCG and Lord of the Rings LCG. We shall see. If Cyclades is not in the top 10, then I'll find you. I'm getting out of here. Yeah. I like it with the Titans expansion. Actually, to be fair, the game's fine. I just haven't played it much. Nobody has done the Concordia joke. Concordia will not appear in any of my lists unless it is the top 10 games I want to burn to a crisp many times. In fact, I want to build a time machine so that I can go back in time, burn Concordia, and then go back in time multiple times so that I can keep burning Concordia, the same copy, and just get blissful glee for the remainder of time. You know, it will be awesome. $20 Empires of the Void. You got Empires of the Void 2 for $20. You lucky man. You really lucky man. Doesn't matter if it's the non-Kickstarter version. I mean, apart from a couple of component changes and maybe 1 or 2 less random event cards, retail edition is still really good for $20. You lucky man. I like it for the other screens. Yeah, fair enough. Now let's do the top 10. I can't do it now. My throat won't last at 10 right now. But it's coming tomorrow, 8 o'clock BST, British Standard Time. It will happen. Question. Pursuit of Happiness, are the expansions needed? No, they are not. There is plenty of replay value in the base box, but however, when you get used to the game and enjoy it, you will no doubt want to get the expansions because they add a couple of cool new mechanics and, of course, more variety. It's like more of the same plus one extra mechanic. So I do recommend the expansions, but they are not essential. But for the box art, nice to see the whole thing. Okay, I'll see what I can do about tomorrow's list. Somebody's already guessing my number 1, 2, and 3. We shall see how right or wrong you are tomorrow. Red Raven fan box number 1 for the promo cards. I need to find out more about this. Somebody send me a message on Twitter or Facebook about this, Danny. I'd like to know more about these and whether they're available or not. Fortunately, I only own most of this list. Your last 10 was expensive for me. I have that effect. Number 2 is this. You should check out Zyre. The expansion gives us solo mode too. Okay, that's cool, but I want to play it first. Unfortunately, I don't know anybody who has a copy. I've not seen it anywhere in years. If conventions ever come back to the limelight though, and I meet one of you at a convention and you have Zyre, then please let me play it. Food Chain Magnate, yeah, you wish. Abyss 7 Wonders Duel, well, we shall see. Please don't put any Splotter games on your top 10. Werfel, you do know me, right? Splotter hasn't got a chance of entering this house, let alone my collection. You know, literally, Splotter games are shot on sight. It's not going to happen. Any train games on the list? What, next one? The next one? No. But any train games on my top 100? Well, Ticket to Ride doesn't really count. I don't think there are, but I do have Spike and Whistle Stop in the other room. Both are really good games. They're in my top 150. In fact, Whistle Stop, at the rate it's going since I brought it into my collection, I'm going to do a movers and shakers video on Whistle Stop soon, where I talk about why it's entered the collection. Whistle Stop is a top 100 potential. You know, train games up to a point I will go for. Not played Call to Adventure, so I wouldn't know, sorry. I hope Underwater Cities will be on your top 10. I suggest you go check out the previous video, mate. He will use Great Western Trail for kindling on the Concordia buildings. I like that. Nice. Zara just get reprinted. Sad I won't be tomorrow for your top 10. That's okay, Groom. Check it out after it airs. In fact, after this airs, before I go check out the finale of The Boys Season 2, I will be putting timestamps on this one because people like the timestamps. We didn't like Call to Adventure much. Okay, fair enough. Yes, looking great. Glad to see the numbers. Yes, a lot of people complained about that yesterday. Well, I say complained, constructive criticism, and I took it to heart. And again, thanks to the traveling Meeples for showing me how to about this Google Slides, because I think this is going to come in handy for future top 10s I decide to do on live stream. Some of them will be pre-recorded, but some will be live on here, and I can use this PowerPoint to do it. So I'm looking forward to doing more of those. I have never played TI4. Yes, I have. I just don't love it as much as everybody else. I mean, I think it's fine. It's just way too long. I can play this in 2 hours. TI4 takes 6+. Why would I want to play that? Looking forward to the top 10 since we have similar preferences. That's all well and good. Doesn't matter if you hate all the games in my top 10. As long as you can discuss it, it's good fun. Top 1 is Blood Rage, but Luke doesn't like it a lot. I give it a 6. The app is not particularly great, the digital board game version. Blood Rage just didn't win me over as much, but I'll play it if it's on the table. I'm just not bowled over by a game just because it has a bucket load of good miniatures. Have you tried any of the GMT solo games, like the Hunter series and Skies Above the Reich? I don't think I have. I tried a DVG one once. What was it, Warfighter, or one of the Vietnam War ones? Wasn't a fan. I tried, was it the Nemo one? What's it called? What's it called? It's the solo game where you're Captain Nemo and you're going and you roll a lot of dice and tell a story. I played that. That was fine. It was just really, random, that one. Nemo's War, that was it. Yeah, I liked it fine. I was glad I played it. It just wasn't a keeper. I don't think I own any GMT games. No, I don't like Twilight Struggle. I have played some GMT games. Was Root a GMT? No, Root is not GMT. It feels like a GMT game, but Root is not, and I'm thinking of acquiring Root. Shall see. Not played City of Spies. What happened to Dream Home? Dream Home would be in my top 150 games. I'm pretty certain it's in my top 150. Love Nemo's War, and all good. Right, well, we're on to an hour or 7 minutes. I've got timestamps to make and an episode to watch and some Among Us to play with friends later. I'm going to shut this one down. So tomorrow, 8 o'clock BST, if you can make it for the final 10 of the top 100, then please do. But if you got to watch it afterwards, that's perfectly fine. I can't wait to see what, people think of the 10. Some of you are guessing, what's going to be in there. I mean, granted, I'm not going to say whether you're right or wrong on some of these, but, some of them you can probably figure out. But I'll be interested to hear what you think their positions are, because I think that might throw some of you off. And more importantly, I would love to see people tomorrow tell me what you think the 3 new games are. That's what I want to consider, all right? Go through my previous reviews and try and tell me in the comments in the next video, which 3 games do you think are going to be the new ones? Because that is, I think, is going to surprise quite a few. Gems and Biscuits, did the intro for my channel come through? I think it did. I don't think it was labelled as Gems and Biscuits, though, so I'm pretty sure I did. I've done one recently for Tekenu series from Andy Savage, I think the name. But there was another one that came through, I think, and I've got Board Game Ramblings to do. But all I can say is if you're going to send me videos for the channel promotion, really put the name of your channel on there and make it crystal clear who it is, because quite a lot came through and I kind of lost track. Apologies, but, just in case, maybe send it again, but I think I've got it. Highlight your weekend, thank you. John, you'll be there, sweet. Peter, Kabuki Kid, ooh, that's a good one. What is new? Yeah, try and guess what is new and let me know in the comments tomorrow. So that's it for me. I'll see you on the next stream. Thanks for listening or watching, depending on what time you find this. Marvel Champions, I've already mentioned Kabuki last episode. For now, remember, it's only a game. Take care, and I'll see you tomorrow for another throat-ripping episode. 10 through 1. And then we get on with some top 10 lists. So I hope to be able to talk to you about what I've got in mind later. So until then, take care, and I'll see you soon.